And another 72 hours. Woohoo! 72 hours, 72 hours, y'all. 72 hours in the book. As a matter of fact, a little over 72 hours into the book in this week's fast. Hey, we are improving our metabolism. We're reversing our diabetes. We're getting off of medications. We are moving in a healthy direction. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. If you're new to me, that's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. That's right, limitless lives. Welcome, wherever you're joining us from. We're glad that you are here. We've got folks watching us from overseas, here in the United States, of course. Go ahead and drop that in the comments, because we'd love to welcome you with a hand clap. Say I'm new here, put right here. Or if you are returning, we want to acknowledge you. If you have questions, go ahead and put those in the comments and put a Q in front of them so that we know that that's a question that we need to get to. We got some good things that we're going to be taking a look at here in just a minute. I've got my monitors that we're going to take a look at to see what's been going on with my blood sugars over the last little while. I've got my Dexcom Clarity report right below, and we are doing an complete review of fasting. That's right. How do we prepare for the fast? How do we get through the fast and what's going on in our body? And then, of course, how do we break the fast? And you get to see right here, right now, what I'm eating for the very first time after 72 hours of fasting. That's right. You get a front row seat to watch as I do that. And we'll talk about what that is, how we put that together, what the thought process was behind what I'm eating. If you've been following us, we want to encourage you to continue to get over to the YouTube channel, get over to the website. All of those videos that we've been doing are out there laid out. We'll talk about what that looks like here also. But we are excited that you're here. If you're fasting, if you are learning, if you are in the process of reevaluating some things in your life, if you are in the process of creating a community around you, all of those are important because they help set us up for success as we move into the future with our health. And see some of our community members out there. We'll say hi here in just a minute. So a couple of things that I want to go over. And you heard me mention about some changes on the YouTube channel, on the website. What we've done is we have created a streamlined version of the YouTube channel. In other words, what we've done is we've taken a lot of the videos off of that main page and we've put them in other areas. So when you go to the YouTube channel, now what you will find is that there are actually two playlists to simplify that process for you. Two playlists. One is entitled Start Here, and that is intended for when you get here on the channel, you jump in and you can start right here. These are the things that we teach here on the channel. This is the pathway that we've been on. This is the journey that we've been on. So let's go ahead and look at that really quickly. So when you get over to the channel, you'll see two playlists. One of them is, of course, this one I mentioned called Start Here. And this allows you to move through those videos, I should say all of, but a lot of the videos that we think are the pivotal videos, the pivotal points, the pivotal pieces of information that you need as you are walking along this journey. And this allows you to just jump in without having to search through, and you'll get to those videos and you'll walk through them as you walk down the path. If you go to the playlist and you go into the description, you'll see here a free PDF that you can download. And when you put that link in, it will take you to our website, DwainWoodeMD.com, and allows you to download that. It goes through explaining to you what those videos are, what the names of them are. There's some prompts that you will go through, some discussion questions, and at the end of that, there is a commitment statement that allows you to, there's some statements that you will agree to, and you'll say, yes, I agree to these. You'll sign it, you'll date it, and I recommend that you print it out and put it in a frame, put it on the wall, put it in your office, put it on your desk, put it on your mirror, somewhere where you see it when you are moving about your day. I did a commitment statement, not for limitless living, but for something else that you see right here behind me, and that has been there for the last 3.5, 4 years. So every time I walk into the studio, that commitment statement is right there. So my limitless living one is actually right in here. Okay, so this allows you to, and that is a visual reminder of the things that you are doing and the reasons why we're doing these things. So that's a very important thing to do there. And then back to the channel. So that's the first playlist that you will see, the one that says start here. Let's get back over there. The one that says start here, and then below that is the one that says this week's videos. So all the videos that we've done for this week will show up in this list. If you want to know what we're talking about right now, what topic we're on, you want to see what I ate for my first meal after, or last meal after I started my fast. If you're interested in walking through some of the strength, strategy, and mindset videos that we do on our strength training, they're there. The pop-ups that we do as we go through the week, those are there as well. There's that video of what I ate. So all of those, if you're coming back to the channel, you've been away for a while, or even if you're in the community and you just want to refresh your mind on, okay, what are we talking about this week? This week's videos, all those videos will be there. Now that will change at the start of the week. So if you're looking for those videos next week from this week, they won't be in this list. The new videos, the videos for next week will be in that list. All right. So that's a great way for you to streamline your process of walking down this journey, and then of course keeping up with where we are right now. The same thing is replicated if you go to our website, DwainWoodeMD.com. Let me go over there and just show you that. So DwainWoodeMD.com, when you get over to DwainWoodeMD.com, you will see that the simplification is actually replicated on the website. So there is our limitless living theme, right? Reclaim your rhythm, redefine your life. Welcome to limitless living, transforming health, mindset, and identity, one intentional step at a time. You scroll down and there's a welcome video for me right there. I welcome you to the website. And then down below right here are the two things I just talked about. One is the playlist. So when you click on this, it will take you directly back to that playlist we just talked about. And let me get rid of this thing. And then this one allows you to download that free PDF that walks you through the videos and then helps you with that commitment statement. If you are tired of being on this pathway, if you're tired of being on the hamster wheel, if you're tired of jumping on and jumping off and nothing seems to be sticking, scroll down just a little bit more and you'll see our flagship program here. This is our accelerator program that takes all the things that we learn here on the channel and implements them and say, okay, how do we install this now into me and help this to be a permanent version of what I do? It's my default operating system. You click there to find out more information. Awesome. All right. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars to see what's been happening. And let's look at this. This is my, right here is my average according to my Freestyle Libre. You see, right? Actually, not my average. That's my blood sugar at this moment. Okay, blood sugar at this moment. And if I put my finger down here on this graph, we can see what those numbers are, right? So 72, 72. Went up to 81, 82, 79, 80s, 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 and then 70s, 80s. So we're straddling that 70, 80. There's an 87 right in there. And then down, 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 down to where we are right now. So right about, let's see, what time was that? Right about noon. Let's see if I can find that. So right about noon, I was actually giving a lecture over to some medical students. And look at that. So we were in the 70s, and then we popped up into the 80s, 87. Right. What do you think is causing that right there? Yeah. So that's likely what was going on inside me as I was giving that talk. Right. Isn't that amazing that you get to see what blood sugars what happens to blood sugars when you do different things, right? So yeah, so we did that talk from noon. We started right at noon, right there, and then we ended about 1 o'clock. All right, so right in there. Oh, interesting. Okay, and so if I take this and go down to reports, all right, and so time and range, and we're looking right here in a minute. There we go. So time and range is 77%, and low blood sugars are 23%. So if you combine those between lows and time and range, that's 100%. So 100% of the time, I'm not in the high range. If I look at the 90-day, 86% with 14% lows. Getting out of this and going back to, say, average glucose. And what I like about this is it breaks it down into the different times of the day. And up here is my average, right? So that 84. And then down here is where it breaks it into the different times, right? So, yeah, so in the 80s. If I look at the 90-day average, right here is my average, which is 88. And then down here is what my average is for those days. Now let's go ahead and let's take a look at my Dexcom. And so my Dexcom says that my average is 102 with, if I look at my 24-hour, so right, oh wow, look at that. So right about there, so we spiked up into the 109s, 100s, 100s. And let's see what this one did when I was giving my talk. So right here about noon, 117, and by 1 o'clock, 120s. Okay, so yeah, so it shows a spike as well. And so this is what I love about these tracking devices is you can see what in real time, pretty real time, near real time, what's actually going on with blood sugars when you do different things, when you're eating, when you're sleeping, when you're exercising. Of course, here you see as I was giving that talk. Very exciting, actually. I enjoy doing those types of things. All right, and so now let's take a look at what's going on with my blood sugar. So let's look at my monitors. And so for this, we're gonna go over here and get out ketones and blood sugar. Here is my keto or my Lancet, and I'm going to put this one back, and we're going to get a test strip for the contour. What do you think my ketones are going to be, by the way? Go ahead and drop that in the comments with a guess. All right, so let's get that in, and let's put that down, and go ahead and open this up. This is the one for the blood sugar, and at the same time I'm going to go ahead and open the one for ketones as well, because I don't want to have to stick myself again, and if I don't do this, the blood will dry or something. All right, so now let's go ahead and grab our Lancet and our finger right here, and I usually use the same finger. Sometimes I've switched up. All right, so that's a pretty good drop there. Get that in. Get this one going. And then I'll need to get another one because I need to make sure I get one for the ketones. And so 71 is what my Keto Mojo says. 77 is what this guy says. And then right there you'll see what the Dexcom says. Let's go back and let's see if we can let's pull this up. And this is the Libre. And so the Libre is more in line with what these guys are saying. You know, the Dexcom tends to be a little higher. And someone asked me recently which one is more accurate. And so when I got my A1C, the A1C, let me get this going. The A1C was more in keeping with what the Libre was saying. Okay. That's just a piece of data. Okay, so 77, and then let's see what this is. So 1.5 is what my ketones are. And let's go ahead and grab my Keto Mojo app, which is right here. And let's see if we can get that to sync for us. So ketones that are less than 0.5 considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and of course above that considered therapeutic ketosis. So I am right at 1.5, so I'm in the nutritional ketosis period, and we want, whenever we are talking about ketones, we want them to be 0.5 or higher, right? 0.5 or higher. That means that we're burning fat. In order for that to happen, we're burning fats. Go ahead and pull over this view. And so we're looking at these three numbers right here, my GKI, which is right there, and then my glucose, which is 71, and then my ketones, 1.5. And so we usually want the GKI to be as low as possible, and the glucose to be low as well, and the ketones to be 0.5 or higher. And you see all of those three are right here. So love that, love that. Now let's go over and let's take a look at my report. Here's my Dexcom Clarity. I don't know why this thing keeps popping up. So here's my average, 14-day average, 117, being in target 96% of the time with a GMI of 6.1. A glucose management indicator, so that would be a surrogate for my A1C. So if I got my A1C, it should approximate that. And if you saw our show on Monday where I walk, if you didn't see our show on Monday, go ahead and watch that, where I actually walked through my lab results, my personal lab results that I had when I had my doctor visit. So that was our show on Monday, so go ahead and watch that. The easiest way to find it is actually to go to this week's video for this week. Now if you're watching this on the replay, it may be in a different place, but it's there. We did that show on Monday, a complete lab review of my personal labs when I have my doctor visit. Now, if I go up here and I change this to the 90-day view, right, you'll see that my average for 90 days is 115. I'm in target 97% of the time, and my glucose management indicator is 6.1. And then now let's scroll over. Let's take a look at what's been going on with my blood sugars, and I'm going to go back right in here. So this is Tuesday when we started fasting. And a couple of points that we want to make here is when we start fasting, we don't want big spikes in our blood sugars following the food that we eat. So that indicates to us that, hey, we've done a pretty good job of managing our food, right? So 96, and so looking forward, we went up to 106, 104, 106, 103, piped up there to 114. That's midnight. So we started. So this is about 12 hours later. And then the next day, in the 100s, 90s, 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 and here we are at 24 hours. Okay, and then scrolling to midnight. Here we are, this is about 36 hours. And then the next day, in the 80s and 90s, 80s and 90s, 80s and 90s, went up to about 89 right there. And here we are at 48 hours in the 80s. And then we started dropping down into the 60s, and then popping back up a little bit. And there's midnight, so that's 56 plus hours. And then today, right, so popping up into the 90s. And so here I was up, actually getting ready for the talk. And so I want you to notice this, right? So look at that. So right here I changed my sensor, because my sensor went out, well, it was like an hour later, and I didn't think I was going to be up, so I changed it. So right here, so between 12:09 and 12:30, so we changed the sensor, and the new one came in, and we were like in the 70s and 80s, 100s. Here's a little bit of that toothpaste effect that we talk about, up to 121, and then started our talk right here at 12:00, right there, and then to where we are coming down right now. And so here we are at a little over 72 hours, actually 71, 72, 73 plus hours right there. Okay? All right. And so that's what's been going on blood sugar wise. So when we are fasting, we want those blood sugars to not have a lot of fluctuation. Right? All right, so let's go ahead and let's say hello to some of our community members. I see you guys out there. Let's do that. Let's get over here, and we will say hello. And I See, Lightworks. Hey, what's up, Lightworks? Lightworks came in, and good to see you. Good to see you in the community. He says, good afternoon, everyone. And then Cornelius says, hi, Dr. Wood. Hey, Lightworks. And then Dolly. Hey, doctor. Hi, everyone. What's going on? Thank you for coming through, and thank you for hanging out with us. Always excited when we have our community coming through, and just excited that you guys are taking charge of your health, taking charge of your life. You know, that's the thing I say. Creating the life we've always wanted, going to the next level. That's always our push. So let's do a couple of things. One, I do want to do a quick check-in. We did not do that earlier this week, but I do want to do that because this week I actually felt a little tired, not as much as I did last week. And so when I check in, I'm checking in how I'm doing physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so physically, I was a little bit more tired than I normally am, not a whole lot, and didn't have any other adverse effects. So didn't feel lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, any of those types of things, but just a little bit more tired. Lots of things were going on this week. Like I said, I gave a talk today, so getting ready for that talk. Actually, I created a talk and then I changed the topic, and so I had to go back and recreate that discussion. This week, of course, we've been on our Play Your Own Game series, continuing with our comparison that we talked about on Monday, talking about our labs, doing our shows. So lots of things going on. And so I did not budget my time properly this week. Actually, I shouldn't say I didn't budget my time. I budgeted my time, and then I made changes to the things I was going to do, and so that kind of threw me off. Let me say it that way. But generally speaking, not having a whole lot of the symptoms that people will tend to associate with fasting, but just feeling more tired than I normally am. My thought process was actually pretty good. I didn't feel lightheaded, foggy-headed, or as though I'm in a bubble, although I couldn't think, or fuzzy-headed, any of those. And then emotionally was an interesting one because last week, remember, we were traveling, and so got back on Sunday, had an amazing time last week. So last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, came back on Sunday, and then got into this week with all the things that were going on. But still very excited about last week, excited about getting into this week and everybody getting back into their space and getting back into the rhythm. So excited about all of that. So emotionally doing well. So let's go ahead and let's hop into our discussion for today. And we're talking about fasting. How do we get through the fast? How do we prepare for the fast? First of all, how do we get through the fast and what goes on in our body as we're fasting? And then how do we break the fast? And that's always an interesting conversation for us to have, because it is the crux of all that we do, and all. I shouldn't say it's not all that we do, but it is one of those pillars within the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. And so as we go through the fast on a weekly basis, we want to make sure that we are doing it correctly for the maximum benefit of what we need. So let's go ahead and let's get over there right now. All right, and so we are in the fast, and people will say to me, why are we fasting? What's the purpose of the fast? And the purpose of the fast is to help us with our metabolism. Generally speaking, that's the idea. So as I was talking to the medical students earlier today, we had a conversation about metabolism. What is metabolism? It is the process that we think about when the body's converting food to energy. Right? So we're taking the food that we eat, and there are a bunch of things going on in the body, and it's taking that and it's making energy, because energy is what we need to live. Right? So that's the function of the metabolic system. Whether that's stuff that we are eating that the body is using immediately, or stuff that we're eating that it is storing, or things that we're eating that is then converting to other components in the body that it needs to regulate the body to be able to stay alive. So all of those and other processes are all connected to metabolism. So you see, if metabolism is dysfunctional, then pretty much everything in the body can become problematic. So whether we're putting in the wrong things, or the body can't convert the things, or something is in the body disrupting the process of metabolism, anytime there's dysfunction in the metabolism, that sets us up for difficulty. And so we want to make sure that we are doing what we need to do to maintain good health. Okay? And so when we talk about metabolism, what we're doing is we are looking to see what's going on, what is the dysfunction, and how do we correct it. And as part of that, we've been walking along the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. 7 pillars that says, okay, this is a blueprint, this is a checklist, this is a set of guidelines, guardrails, that if we follow, if we go along this path, that we will end up with the product that we're looking for. And the product we're looking for is long, healthy life. You've heard me say, and I've been saying, that we want to connect the things that we're doing, those numbers that everybody's tracking, those numbers that you look at on your lab, the scale, the blood pressure when we check the blood pressure in the office. We want to connect those numbers to something practical for you. What does it mean when you say I need to have an A1C of a certain number or an average blood sugar? What does that translate to in my life? It's kind of like, me saying to you, go collect rocks. Well, if the rocks have no bearing, you have no concept of what rocks mean, why would you collect rocks? And if you did collect rocks, after a while you stop because, well, why am I doing this? Why am I collecting these rocks? And so simply looking at that number doesn't really mean anything unless it means something to you, which is why on our show earlier this week, we went through and walked through what my personal labs were when I saw my doctor and what they mean. So understanding that, very important. So as we're walking down this path, there are several pillars that we walk through, several things that we do, several tools that we use. And one of the tools is this idea of fasting. And anytime you're using a tool, you want to know how the tool works, what are the benefits of the tool, when to use the tool, right? And what I should expect as I'm using the tool. What is the best practices for using the tool? And so as we fast, that's what we're going through. We're walking through the process of understanding our fasting tool, one of the components of the plan, how it works, and what benefits it gives us. Okay? So to set the stage for what it does, what does fasting do? Fasting helps us to regulate the metabolism. It helps us to reset our body and get the body ready for the improvements that we're about to make. In a nutshell. So specifically, it improves our insulin resistance. It helps us with our weight. It brings our blood sugar down. It helps us with inflammation, helps us stimulate and strengthen our immune system. It helps us with energy. It helps us with with neurodegenerative diseases. So all of those things are things that are going on in the body when we fast. And that is the reset. So when I talk about fasting, I said fasting is a reset process that takes what we have, takes the body, and it's kind of like buying a building, taking an old building, and you're gonna renovate it. Well, the first thing you do is you come into the building and you begin gutting it. You take out all the old, broken stuff that's not being used. You take out some floorboards, maybe pull down a wall, take out the cabinets, throw away the carpet, all those things, in getting ready for what we're going to do as we improve. And so fasting is one of the ways that begins to happen. Okay? And so that's why we are in the process of fasting. So we're talking about, okay, fasting. So fasting, we're doing a review. What do we need to do? What do we need to know when we're fasting, and what does that mean? What does that mean for us? And so when we're fasting, I talk about fasting in I talk about fasting in several ways. Talk about fasting in several ways. And one of the ways that I talk about fasting is I break it into 3 different segments. Number 1 is, how do we prepare for the fast? Number 2, how do we get through the fast successfully and what's going on in the body? And then number 3, how do we break the fast? And by the way, you're going to see what I'm going to eat for the first time here after 72, 73, 74 hours now into our fast. You get to see that here firsthand. So how do we prepare for the fast? Why is preparation important? Because how we prepare for the fast sets us up for what goes on in the fast and what goes on after the fast. So some quick points here, because we're going to spend some time in some other areas. So quick point. Number one, our mental preparation for the fast is paramount. Our mental preparation for the fast is paramount. Fasting is not just not eating. Not eating is a component of fasting. But if you show up one day and say, you know what, I'm not going to eat today, tomorrow, the next day, the likelihood that you get there successfully is low. Now, can you get there? Yeah, some people can push through. Some people have some pretty strong willpower. They grind their teeth, they grit, they hold on for dear life, and they make it 2 days, 3 days. The question is, how do we do that consistently? And it is because the mindset that we have is of such that it helps propel us there. That's why in the Health Action Plan, one of the components, one of the pillars is mental mastery. How we see the fast, how we interpret the fast, how do we think about it and what it's doing for us is very important as to how we get through the fast and the things that we do as we are in the fast when issues come up. So if you come into the fast begrudging, like, man, I really don't want to do this, then anything that pops up is going to help you, is going to make you stop. Because you didn't want to be there in the first place. But coming into the fast, understanding that the fasting, y'all, is just a tool. Fasting is a tool. It's like the hammer. It's like a toothbrush. It's like a screwdriver. When I have to use a screwdriver, I don't get mad at the screwdriver. I use it for what it's supposed to do for me, and then when I'm done, I put it back. And so that's fasting. That's where I want you to put fasting. Fasting is a tool that you get to take out when you need it. You use it to get the benefit, and then you put it back. And so coming into it, understanding that the fasting is giving me a result. It is a tool that gives me a result, number 1. Number 2, fasting is a reset of my body. Fasting is a reset. So the things that I want to correct, my weight, my inflammation, my blood pressure, my blood sugar, my cholesterol, I want to decrease my heart disease, I want to decrease my risk of stroke, my polycystic ovarian syndrome, all of those things, as I'm thinking about, okay, how do I go about correcting those? Fasting allows us to reset the body to get it ready for what we need to do to make those better. So it's a tool, it's going to give me a benefit, and it's a reset in my process. It's kind of like when you are you're getting ready to start a project at work, at home, you're doing it yourself, or even something as simple as cutting the lawn. What do? You go and you get your stuff. Get the lawnmower out, you get your gloves, get your earphones, headset, whatever. Put on your lawn cutting clothes. Make sure there's gas, or make sure it's charged if you're using electric. Make sure it has gas if you're doing a riding lawnmower, right? You walk around the lawn, depending on where you are. Make sure that there's nothing on the lawn that's going to mess up your lawnmower. So what you're doing is you're preparing. And that's what fasting does. Fasting is a part of that preparation process for what we're going to do in the body. Fasting does 3 things that are super, super important. Number 1, fasting decreases our insulin. Number 2, it suppresses our appetite. And number 3, it reduces sugar. It decreases insulin, suppresses appetite, reduces sugar. And we'll talk about those 3 components more when we get into the preparing, going through the fast, and of course breaking the fast. So that's what fasting does. And those things themselves, those 3 things I just talked, those pillars are the pillars for reversing diabetes. But because diabetes is the ultimate in metabolic disease, reversing diabetes allows us also to use those same components, those same things to help with other disease processes. All those diseases along the spectrum that we talk about. So mentally preparing for fast, very important. Understanding what it's doing, how it's helping us, what the point of it is, and what I am personally doing. Playing your own game, right? What is my personal goal when I'm walking down this pathway? So mentally. Number 2, physically. How we prepare physically. You heard me talk a little while ago about being tired. If I come into fasting tired, I have a more difficult time getting through the fast. Not because there's something wrong with fasting, but because I come into it already drained and depleted. And so when there are hormonal shifts, when there are energy shifts, I feel that more profoundly, and I think, oh, something's wrong because I'm fasting. So getting good rest, making sure you're hydrated. Because if you're not, you'll have palpitations, feel like you're lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, because the heart has to move faster to move less blood, because you have less volume, has to move faster to get the same nutrients to the vessels, to the cells, to the organs. So we feel that. Not because of fasting, but because we're dehydrated. And then the big one that I want to talk about, of course, is food. The way we eat in our non-fasting window has significant implications on what happens during the fast and at the end of the fast. When we eat, remember metabolism, when we eat, the body has to take that food, convert it to energy, and then do something with it. So if we eat something that has a lot of carbs, high sugar, then the body has to process all of that and use it up before it depletes the liver from the glycogen that's stored there, before it gets to the fat. So there's a delay depending on what we ate coming into the fast. That's why when I do my check-in with fasting and the things I eat, I say I want to make sure that I don't have big spikes in my blood sugar following what I eat. Because if I do, then I'm delaying my process of getting into ketosis. And we don't want to do that. So mentally, physically, and then emotionally, and I'm going to throw in here socially. Understanding ourselves, understanding the things that trigger us, understanding the things that push our buttons, the situations, the relationships, the conversations. Very important. Because emotionally, that's where we tend to have our biggest issue. If it weren't for the emotions, most people would be able to fast and be able to fast longer. But they get upset. They become depressed. They become bored. They become tired. They become anxious. And they normally use food to soothe themselves. And when you're fasting, there is no food to soothe yourself. And so what people do is during the fast, if they don't understand this about themselves, something happens that pushes their buttons and they resort to food. And so they break the fast. And then they get into this cycle. Oh man, I'm such a bad person. I couldn't even last through the fasting and blah, 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 right? Or fasting doesn't work for me. And so they go down that rabbit hole when it's not a fasting issue per se. It's an emotional issue. And so understanding the things that push your buttons are very important. And that's why we talk about our heat model, right? The heat model says that there are certain things that are the things that we respond to. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. And those are the things that push our buttons and put us in a space where we're breaking the fast because, not because of the fast, but because something has triggered us. Right? So those are those triggers. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. So understanding this about ourselves is very important because that allows us to understand what's going to go on, what's going to happen when we're fasting. Okay? So preparation for the fast, very, very important. How we prepare for the fast will set us up for success, or it will make it more difficult for us to fast. So a couple of takeaways that I want you to get as we talk about this phase of fasting, and they are that fasting is important. Let me pop that up here. Preparation is key. We want to prepare mentally. Now, there are lots of other ways to prepare, but I put this specifically because I want you to be mindful of this. Prepare mentally. Get good rest. Eat nutrient-dense food so the things that we eat affect the fast. And then get into community. Be sure that you are in a supportive group. Very important. And so that's preparing for the fast. Now, let's talk about the fast itself. How do we get through the fast and what's going on in our bodies? Now, we can divide this up into several areas, 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. We do a 72-hour fast here I personally do that. A lot of our community members do that. Many people do 48 hours. We've encouraged everyone to work their way up to fast at least one 24-hour period during the week. Once a week. And this is not just, we're doing this for the next 90 days. No, this is once a week for like now forever. You're going to work your way up to be able to fast one day a week for a 24-hour period. And when we talk about fasting, let me make that point. When we talk about fasting, we're talking about fasting from any calorie-containing food. Now, I drink, what am I drinking right now? Oh, this is zero sugar soda is what's in this thing right now. But I don't eat anything. I used to at one point chew gum, and then I looked at the package and it says zero sugar, but then it has 1 calorie. So we're saying no calories in the things we're eating when we're fasting. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the fast. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about the first 6 hours. So the first 6 hours is actually called the postprandial period. Right? This is after eating, after prandial eating, so after eating phase. And so in this phase, what's going on is our body is in the process of sorting the things that we have eaten. It's like going to the grocery store and coming home and taking all those things and now putting them in the cabinets, putting them in the refrigerator, putting them in the pantry, putting them in places where they need to go to be stored. That's the postprandial period. Breaking it down, extracting some of the components, sending to the liver if we need to, sending to the fat cells if we need to, and then sending some, right? So not everything goes for storage, sending some to be used for energy right now, for breathing, for heart, for lungs, for your muscles, for your digestive system, for all of those areas that need energy. The food that you just ate, some of that's going there. Now, here's the crux of this. If I come into the fast and I'm eating things that produce a significant rise in my blood sugar, that's energy, the body has to do something with that energy before it gets into ketosis and all the things we're going to talk about. So if I come into the fast and I've just eaten, a whole chocolate cake, my blood sugar is going to be pretty high. The body has to do something with that before it can move down the pathway that we are heading to. That's why I said what we do pre-fast, that last meal, is very important in the fast. Because as the body's thinking, okay, what am I doing with this? Where does this go? Well, some of it's going to go to be used right now, but if your blood sugar is already high, the body's not going to use that. So we're going to take all of that and it's going to send it to storage, and it has to take time to send it to storage. So first it has to fill up the liver with glycogen. Once the liver gets full, then it packages up and it sends it off to your fat cells. So that's what's going on in the postprandial period. And your energy levels actually are pretty high during this time because you got all this energy that's floating around, metabolism. All that's going on. We're digesting it. Glucose is high, and typically insulin is high. So even when you look at my numbers during that period right after fasting, and even with the thing that I ate, we went from a 95 up to like a 115. Right, so the blood sugars do go up, depending on what you ate in that pre-fast period. And then let's take a look. So that was 6 to 12 hours. And so for 12 to 18 hours, we're now transitioning to using fat. Notice we're transitioning. So fat burning can actually start earlier on in this period. Right? We usually say it takes about 24 to 36 hours for everything to be gone out of the liver. So it's not gone. In this period, the body is still using some fat. And this is the period where the body says, now I've come home with all these groceries and I've put them up where they need to go, into all of the cabinets and the refrigerator and the pantry and in the freezer. And now I need some. It's kind of like you coming home, putting everything away, and then say, okay, now I'm gonna go in the kitchen, I'm gonna cook. What do you start doing? You start going back to the places where you put the stuff and you pull out the things that you need because now you're going to use them. And that's what the body's doing in this space. It's pulling them out and using the ones that it needs for energy. So physically, the glucose levels are dropping. Our insulin level also is dropping. Fatty oxidation is beginning to happen because the body is releasing some. The liver is starting gluconeogenesis because now you're saying, hey, give me back some of the stuff I gave you. So that glycogen is there. Energy levels may feel as though they're dipping. And this is where, if you are not rested, you feel it a lot more profoundly than other times. Because you are now beginning to transition. Because your blood sugars are going down. That's why blood sugar actually is not a very stable energy source. And people say they feel better, they feel more energetic when they're in ketosis because ketones are stable. Blood sugars go like this. Right? So that's that 12 to 18 hour period. And then moving from 18 to 24 hours, ketosis is beginning. And so when we talk about ketosis, we want our blood sugars, or we want our ketones to be 0.5 or higher. So what's happening at this point is that we are starting to see those numbers, and that goes back to what is going on here. So these are my numbers, and so my GKI is 2.6 with blood sugar of 71, and my ketones are 1.5. So we're in ketosis here at 72 plus 73 hours, and we checked that at We check that at 71 hours, 72 hours. So we want that to be 0.5 or higher. So in ketosis, when we're getting into ketosis, our body is now moving. That's where we're heading right now. We're heading to that 0.5 in this phase, or we're at 0.5. And autophagy is beginning at this point. Remember, autophagy is the body's ability or body system that it uses to recycle the broken, damaged, unused, misshapen components that are in there. It's basically the cleanup system of the body. It goes out and it grabs all those things that shouldn't be there, that aren't working, and it takes them and it sends them to recycling. They get processed, changed into something else, turned into something else, and it comes back to us better, stronger, more efficient. Mitochondria go through this process. These are, remember, mitochondria, those are the batteries of the body. Those are the powerhouses. That's where the energy is being generated. So broken, damaged mitochondria, they go off and they get processed. And when they come back, they're stronger. And we actually get more mitochondria during fasting. So autophagy is going on at that time. And then moving from 18 to 24 hours, we get to our 24 to 30 hours and fat adaptation. So we have adapted at this point. So we are having significant increases in our ketones, right? So as you saw, 1.5 there for me. So we're moving along that ketone process. Oxidation is going on. Our energy levels begin to stabilize because we've moved from burning sugar to now burning fat. So let's talk about our 3 pillars of reversing diabetes. Number 1 was decreasing insulin. Number 2 was suppressing the appetite. Number 3, reducing sugar. So number 1, when we start fasting, and as you saw there in that postprandial period, and then getting into ketosis, and all of those processes along the way as we're fasting, blood sugars are going down. When blood sugars go down, insulin goes down. So we're decreasing the insulin. Why is that important? Because insulin is an appetite stimulant. If you're on insulin, you know that after you take insulin, it feels like you can't get enough to eat. Like there are people who are on long-acting insulin, so they come home and they take their shot at night before they go to bed. All day they've been fine, and they take that big shot at night, and all of a sudden they can't stop eating. Or even when they eat during the day, if they're taking insulin with their meals, it stimulates the appetite. So decreasing insulin is a very important point. An interesting conversation here to be had is what has to happen? How much insulin does your body have to produce for you to have eaten something that has a lot of carbs, a lot of sugar, and for the number to get into the normal range? Right? For instance, say you go out and you eat chocolate cake. I don't know why I'm picking on chocolate cake today. Okay, let's change. Cheesecake. And you had cheesecake, and you had pasta, and you had the rolls that they bring to the table, and you had maybe a drink. So all those are carbs, and the blood sugar will rise because of that. Let's assume that you're not taking insulin. Let's say you're pre-diabetic, or say you're not diabetic at all. You don't have any problems with your blood sugar. And your blood sugar stays normal. How much insulin does your body have to produce for you to have eaten all of those carbs and for the blood sugar to stay normal? A lot of insulin. I want you to get the point. Because sometimes we see normal blood sugars and we think, oh, the thing that we ate was okay because my blood sugar is normal. Well, yeah, the blood sugar is normal because the body did its job, but what did it have to do in order to maintain good glycemic control in light of the things that we ate? right? So suppressing insulin when we're fasting. Because we suppress the insulin, it doesn't stimulate the appetite. Pillar number 2. So we decrease insulin, suppress the appetite. And when we do that, because we are not eating, we're not putting anything in, the blood sugar's going down, the appetite is suppressed, so we're not looking for things to eat, so we've now reduced the sugar. So pillars 1, 2, 3. When I talk to patients in the office, the very first thing that we shoot for, once we get good numbers, is we shoot to say, anything that's producing insulin, whether we're giving you insulin or we're on a medication that produces insulin, those are the first 2 that we want to begin walking back. So suppressing insulin, decreasing insulin, suppressing appetite, reducing sugar, right? And that's what's going on in this process. Fat adaptation, all of that is happening as we are moving through the metabolic space. Very, very important point that I wanted to make there. And then what I want to do is, let's go ahead and I'm going to skip through a couple of things because I want to get over here. And we've not done this in a while, but we're gonna hop over and we're gonna do that right now. So let's talk about what's going on post the 24 hours, right? So 26 hours. We have increased lipolysis. So that's the breakdown of fat. So physically, fat breakdown is accelerated, right? That leads to increased free fatty acids. Remember those free fatty acids, because triglycerides come, we break it off, free fatty acids go into the bloodstream. In terms of our thought process, we continue to adapt to the ketones use in the brain. And remember, the brain loves ketones. Beta hydroxybutyrate is great. And during this process, we're getting that BDNF, brain-derived natriuretic factor, which is like miracle grow for the body or for the brain. And then 27 hours, autophagy begins to increase. So it's already going on. We talked about that. But now it just begins to rev up. Cellular cleanup is going on. It starts to intensify. We get bigger, higher, better processes as we get longer into the fast. Damaged proteins, damaged organelles, those are the things that are inside the cells. They're being recycled. Some people report that in this phase, they have significant mental clarity. We talked about that a little bit when we were on our show last night. And then 28 hours, there are hormonal adjustments that are going on. Insulin levels are low. Insulin sensitivity begins to improve. So now that insulin is gone, the body is using the sugar that's around without insulin. This is a great point to be made for those people who are doing fasting workouts. Because when you're working out during the fast, remember, your body's not using insulin to pull the sugar into those muscles. Those GLUT4 transporters have gone to the surface and they're sucking sugar in. That's why when you work out, you're actually improving insulin sensitivity. So the insulin that's in your system, the body doesn't have to use that to lower sugar because your body is sucking it in. Those muscles are sucking it in. So your body can actually lower the amount of insulin that it makes. Or you can take less insulin from outside. Or you can take less insulin producing medication. Okay, that's the 28 hours. And then 29 hours, we're getting deepening ketosis. Ketone levels are continuing to rise. They get more energy for the brain, more energy for the muscles. A lot of people start to get heightened alertness and concentration. Hunger is going down because remember ketones, when the ketones come, they suppress appetite as well. So we got lots of things that are going on to help with our appetite. The blood sugar's gone down, insulin's gone down, so it's not stimulating our appetite. And now ketones are coming on board, and those ketones are suppressing appetite. And the ketones are actually also slowing our GI tract. At 30 hours, we're in full ketosis. Because those the glycogen that's in the liver is pretty much gone at this point. The body is now in a state of full ketosis. Fat is the primary source. We've changed over from using carbohydrates like the hybrid car. We're no longer using gas. We're actually now using the battery. And our cognition is enhanced. We've talked about the fact that when we're fasting, we have these amazing interactions and connections that we're making in our mind. Just beautiful. Okay. So 31 to 36 hours, we got sustained ketosis going on. Autophagy is in full force. These are where we get the sustained ketosis, continued autophagy, energy levels stabilize, and a lot of the initial side effects of fasting begin to go away. So people say, okay, I don't feel hungry anymore. Oh, I'm not as lightheaded anymore. Now I have energy. Now my thought process is better. Because we're no longer relying on sugar, we're now relying on ketones in full force. And then 37 to 42 hours, we got increased cellular repair. So autophagy is out there now, is doing its thing. This is where we talk about increased immunity increased or improved immune system, decreased inflammation. People are talking now about improvement in our cognition. So improvement in neurodegenerative diseases. All of that's going on. Cells that were there, that were primed to move in the direction of cancer, are being gobbled up, broken down, sent to recycling. It's being cleaned up. I want you to get the significance of that. Right? All of this happening as we move through the fast. So I wanted to make sure that we did that, because we don't usually do that when we talk about fasting. I should say we don't usually do that. We've done it in the past, but I wanted to do a little extended version of that today as we move through that space. And then, so we've prepared for the fast, we've gone through the fast, and then we want to talk about how we end the fast and what we do when we're breaking the fast, because that is the third component of the fast that we talked about, how we fast successfully. How do we fast successfully? We do that because we look at all three of those. And the third one is breaking the fast. And when we're breaking the fast, what's important is what are we going to do and how do we eat? So let me go ahead and pull this up for you here. You get to see for the first time in 72 hours what I'm going to eat. All right, let's go here. So I've got my salad. As you know, we start with a salad, and then we layer these other things on the salad. So my salad, the reason I do a salad is because salad gives me bulk. The hunger hormone is based on stretch, so my stomach stretches and the hunger hormone goes down. So number one. Number two, salad helps to blunt the rise in sugar that may happen based on any of the things that are in this meal. So even though, and if you go back and watch what I ate on Tuesday as we started the fast, even though I'm eating a balanced bite meal, there are still carbohydrates in the things I'm eating. For instance, the lettuce and the tomatoes. And that will cause a spike in blood sugar. And when I eat the salad, the fiber that's in there blunts the rise because it blunts the absorption. And of course, salad gives me nutrients. It gives me some hydration. Lots of good things there. And then I've got some protein. So let's walk through this together, because these are the things that we want you to know. So when we talk about eating, our eating is based on balanced bites. So let me go ahead and pop that up. So balanced bites. So whole foods first. We want to minimize processed foods. No added sugar. Lean protein, healthy fats. Starchy and non-starchy vegetables. Tasty and flavorful. And we want appropriate portions. Okay, so that's what we want. So let's go back over here. So whole foods, right? So everything here, whole foods, except for what you're gonna see here. I'm gonna put some dressing on this in a minute. The cheese, right, that's in there would be the only other things that's not whole foods. And notice this, whole foods first. That does not mean that you cannot eat things that are not whole foods. Now, whole foods are best. So if you're sitting at the table and you're like, okay, what am I going to eat here? You want to prioritize the things that are whole foods before the processed foods. I want to make sure I make that point to you. And we deliberately did not say only whole foods. Whole foods first. So as you're looking at the things, you want to say, okay, of the things that are here, what can I eat? What will I eat? And we're prioritizing the things that are whole foods. And whole food simply means things that are closest to when they were created, when they were made. Okay, like here, let's take this for example. So I've got some chicken and some steak. I can take this and I could process it and put it in a can. So if I had a choice to eat this steak versus the steak in a can, I would eat this first. But if all I have is what's in the can, guess what? I would eat what's in the can. So I want to make that distinction. Okay, so whole foods first. Minimize processing. And that goes along with whole foods. So minimize processing. So the only thing here that would be processed would be the cheese that you see there. I have some dressing that I'm gonna put on there in a minute, so that's processed. What else? Now the beans did come out of a can, right? So the garbanzo beans did come out of a can. I could have, bought the regular beans and soaked them, but I didn't, right? So that's what those processed. No added sugar. So nothing here has added sugar. Probably the dressing will have some added sugar. Lean protein and healthy fats. And so this is some steak strips that I got from, let's see, when did this come in? So yesterday they brought a meal in to the office, and just like I do on Tuesday, I grabbed, that's what I used to eat. That was my last meal prior to the fast. And so yesterday, as I was thinking, okay, what am I going to eat tomorrow as my first meal? They brought this in, and I said, okay, I'm going to use the steak. Actually, some of this that you see here, the lettuce, there's some red onions in there somewhere. Those come, and the black beans. Those actually come from the salad that came with this. And then here is, of course, as you know, I do jerk chicken and curry once a week. And so this right here, let's turn it around this way. This that you see here, this is jerk chicken that I made, and this is the steak that came from the restaurant. So whole foods, minimize processing, no added sugar, lean protein, healthy fats. And so I've got some fat in here, so I've got some cheese, right? So here's some cheddar cheese, and here's some feta cheese that's in there. And what else? Portion controlled, right? So this is probably more. So they said, in terms of meat, you should have size of a stack of cards is your size, and then this is probably half of this would be a salad. Okay, portion size, and then tasty. Now I haven't tasted it yet, but it looks good. I'm anticipating it's gonna be good. That's right. Delicious. So first time in 72 hours, you get to see that's what I'm eating right now. And for the dressing, I've told you that there's a place here in town, and I love the dressings that they have. And so I usually get that, and then I mix it with some other things. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and put some of that on here right now. And so I'm doing so usually that's what we do. So we don't usually eat the right portions of salad dressing. So that's what I'm going to eat for the first time. You get to see that here. So I'm going to I'll grab some of this. Hey, let's do it this way. Move that over. And then let's take a look at, just go to this one. And let's go for it. Oh, so let me go back and say what's in here. Because I just dropped that fork. So let me do a little bit of cleanup before I change back to that view. All right. There we go. All right, so let's walk through what's in that. So here we have there's some lettuce down below. There's cucumbers. We've got broccoli. We've got garbanzo beans. There's some banana peppers in there. There are these little carrot sticks. There are these cherry tomatoes. There are the black beans. What else? And of course, there's the cheese. 2 different types of cheese that's in here. So that's what we're eating right now. And let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Get this back over there. And first bite. You ready? First bite. 72 hours. 74 and a half. That's good. The other reason I like salad is I am big about textures. Like I don't like mushy, soft food. So right now, this is like my taste buds, my mouth is just amazing because there's. Well, I shouldn't say I don't like soft foods. I like combinations. There's textures, flavors, some crunchy, some soft. And so right now, my taste buds are going crazy. They're like, yes! Because I've got the lettuce, I got the garbanzo beans, they got the cheese. I haven't had any carrots yet, so let's do that. Oh yeah. And there's some black beans and some broccoli. And then there's the dressing that's on top of it. Oh, the other thing that I have in here is some sunflower seeds. And y'all, I haven't even added any of the chicken or the steak yet. And this is amazing. I just had some of the sunflower seeds and that, what I just ate. Just adds an amazing flavor to it. So if you're breaking the fast with us, I'm always excited to know what you're eating. Amazing, y'all. Amazing, amazing. Let's go ahead and add a piece of this chicken. Yep. That's some good jerk chicken, if I do say so myself. Wow. So 74 hours. Into our fast. First meal. And so when we break our fast, there are certain things that we want to make sure that we're paying attention to. So monitor our blood sugars. If you don't have a monitor, I encourage you to get one. You get to see what foods do to your body. You get to see what exercise does to your body. You get to see what sleep does to your body. You get to see what stress does to your body. Monitor blood sugars. Portion control, and we talked about that, and that has to do with the fact that often it's not that we're eating the wrong things, it's that we're eating too much of the thing. We've gotten used to certain portions. Our idea of certain portions is skewed. Often what we think is a portion actually isn't a portion. Then eat slowly. Eat slowly. It allows you to get the signal from your stomach to your brain that you're full. The signal takes about 20 minutes. So if you're just gobbling it up, you end up eating 2 to 3 times more than you should because there's no signal that got to the brain by the time you're eating that second or third plate. And then avoid sugary foods when you are breaking the fast. Here, there's some sugar in probably the dressing, but not a lot of sugar in what I'm eating. There are carbs, so we will see a rise in the blood sugar, but we're not going to see a big spike, hopefully, in those blood sugars. So we want to make sure that we're eating in a way that's consistent with what we want. An interesting point here to be made for balanced bites. When we talk about balanced bites, often people will say, oh, I'm eating this way for my meal or I'm eating this way for my fasting. No, balanced bites is your thought process about food all the time. It is the mental map and your way of thinking about foods. Okay, when I'm looking at my food, is this consistent with balanced bites? So it's not a one-time, it's not a pre-fast meal, it's not a post-fast meal, it is not a meal when I'm doing my 90-day cleanse. It is the way I think about food all of the time. Balanced bites. So avoid processed foods, no added sugar. Of course, make sure that you're hydrated. Hydration is very important. Often when we fast, because we're not thinking about eating, we also don't think about drinking. And so make sure that you're hydrated. Lean protein, healthy fats, part of balanced bites as well. This will help you stay fuller longer. So if you're eating protein and healthy fats, then your body will feel like it's full and you won't, coming out of the fast, you won't go gobble up stuff. We need to do some conversation about our thought process in the post-fast time. We'll have to come back and do that, okay? So making sure that you're doing that. And then some considerations. Let's go there really quickly. Some considerations. One, when you're breaking the fast, you want to choose foods that help maintain stable blood sugars. At the same time, they're providing nutrition to you. You want to prioritize low glycemic index foods. That's glycemic index 50 or lower. Prioritize lean protein, healthy fats, and you want to prioritize hydration because those are very, very important. So if we're going to use the tool of fasting, which is one of the pillars of the health action plan, if we're going to use the tool of fasting, we want to make sure that we're using it appropriately. We want to make sure we're using it appropriately. It is one of the pillars. If we're going to use it appropriately, we have to understand how it works. And that's one of the reasons why we do what we do, so that you can understand that. But everything that we do here is based on our Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with the shows. We educate with the podcasts. We educate with the blogs. We educate with all of the things that we do, the shows that you're seeing. This is with the idea of changing our mindset, giving us a different perspective, helping us to look at it a different way. We empower with the tools. Fasting is a tool. The strength, strategy, and mindset is a tool. The 100-day walk to consistency of health is a tool. The balanced bites is a tool. All of those are tools that help you implement the things that we've learned. And then the community that you are part of, the community that you're helping to grow, very important component, because it allows us to support each other, allows us to say, hey, if they can do it, I can do it as well. Allows us to pull each other along, push each other on the way, allow people to lean on you when they're having challenges. If you want to go somewhere, you can go, but if you want to be successful and go long term and be consistent, take somebody with you. That's the power of community. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. And I am always excited when I get to be here with you. We get to hang out with you. Let me go ahead and we'll say hi to, I do see some community members that popped in. So let's see. So we were there. So Cornelia was saying hi to Dolly. Dolly says hi, Cornelia. Kenty said, here we go. What's up, Kenty? What's going on? What's going on? And Cornelia says, hey, Kenty. Yes, that food looks so good. Kenty's waving. And Cornelia says, thank you, Doc. Awesome. That's awesome. So the food does look good. I know sometimes people say, hey, you're triggering me. That looks so good. But I'm always excited when I'm here with you. We will continue our trek through the week. On tomorrow night at 9 p.m. we'll have video from the vault, and then on Sunday morning we'll have This Week in Review at 6 a.m. Central. We'll be back on Monday for Dwain Woode MD Live as we continue our trek in our series Play Your Own Game, and as we continue walking along this path of being metabolically healthy. Remember, we are not chasing a number. We're not chasing an A1C. We're not chasing a blood sugar. We're not chasing a weight. We're not chasing any of those things. What we're doing is we're trying to figure out how do we keep you alive as long as possible, and how do we keep you as healthy as possible. That's the goal. All the other things are markers on the way, and they help us to know if we're heading in the right direction. But ultimately, we want to know, how do I stay around so I can romp and wrestle with my grandkids? To watch my daughter and my son walk down the aisle and get married, to start their own family, to see my kids graduate from college and take their place in society. How do I stay around to enjoy the things that we have put so much time into now that we want to travel and we want to visit other places and we want to hang out together? That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're working on. How do we keep you around as long as possible, and how do we keep you as healthy as possible? If you're tired of being on that rat race, being on that treadmill, being on that hamster wheel where you start and you stop and it doesn't seem to be taking, and join us in the accelerator. Go to the website, DwainWoodeMD.com, scroll down, past the welcome video, past the two boxes that say start video, and click on learn more, get more information about our accelerator. It is our platform program that helps to implement the things that we are learning, and how do we make this the default operating system for our body. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. Now, go live a limitless life and have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.